Hip and the Lip is live. Welcome to this Islanders New York sports podcast. Yes, I'm the Hip. Hello, Lip.
Hello. Hello. Hello,
Hello.
friends. Hello, friends. The lip here. Hello,
Yes,
friends.
yes. Did you hear a lot of hello, friends on Sunday? Hello, friends.
Well, I missed the initial hello, friends, from our old friend Jim because we were watching and this is true. We were watching cartoons of a certain radio talk show host from 1 to 6:30 on WFAN every day. Mike Emation is what it's called. Hysterical, I
Micah
might add.
Mation.
Yes, it's called Mike Imation. It's they have a bunch of them on YouTube, and we
Oh,
thought
okay.
that would be much more entertaining than the 17-hour pregame show on CBS.
Well, it was more
So,
like a 2-week pregame show,
so that's
as
true.
we talked about the last time. So tonight we're gonna just get in a couple of minutes about the Super Bowl. We got to do it, even though it's been overcovered
Yeah, because
as a
people
sporting
watch
event can
that thing,
be.
right? Yeah,
So
people do watch that thing, right? Yeah.
we'll get that right. We'll get that obligatory piece out of the way. Then we'll get into 3 Islanders games. The Islanders were at Detroit on Saturday. Then they played Edmonton on Super Bowl Sunday at home, and then they were in Columbus last night, Columbus Blue Jackets. So we'll recap those games, maybe get in a hipster moment of Zenith in there. In fact, we will, and it will not have to do with for probably worse for the listeners. It will not have to be. It won't be a similarly related topic as last time. And then we'll touch upon a few other things going on around the NHL and the upcoming slate of Islander games. So Super Bowl 50, just get it out of the way. What do you got?
Well, actually, I just wanted to warn you, Mr. Hip. I actually drank a lot of Budweiser before this episode. You know, because
So
Peyton Manning drinks Budweiser, so I figured, wow, Peyton Manning drinks Budweiser. Now that makes it okay for me to drink Budweiser. Now, Peyton Manning apparently was drinking Budweiser in celebration of his achievement of winning his second Super Bowl. However, I decided to drink a lot of Budweiser prior to this podcast in anticipation of doing a fabulous show. So,
well, my thought was that we're in for a repeat from last week then with some random like what you might think is like a audio malfunction is actually naturally produced gas coming out of the sound waves. So we'll see if, because I was going to ask you if you went to the bathroom within the last hour of us recording, and with Budweiser contributing towards it, I think we're now mentally prepared as best as we can.
Well, that's what it does. And like I said, I mean, while Peyton Manning was celebrating his victory by drinking large quantities of Budweiser, at least so he claimed, you know, I figured we're going to do an amazing show. I don't have to wait until afterwards. Might as well get this over with now. Let's do it.
All right. So I think that's enough for Super Bowl 50 for us. We don't have to talk about the game itself.
The other thing I just want to add is that I think Denver fans may have been confusing the euphoric feeling that they were experiencing right after the Super Bowl win by the Broncos, probably with the large quantities of weed that they were consuming and the sense of euphoria that they were experiencing the entire game, since that would be okay to do at a Super Bowl party in Denver. So I figured I would get that out there too. But, yeah, you know, Broncos won, W-Gas. Peyton Manning won his second Super Bowl. Wonderful. I think he had the worst Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls for a quarterback. And,
winning or losing? Winning or losing?
Well, maybe not losing, but for a winning quarterback, I think it was the worst statistical Super Bowl. The other thing I want to point out, and I know we're going to move on to the Islanders here in just a sec, but the other thing I want to point out.
You're anticipating me trying to cut you off.
All right, moving along. Well, I just want to throw this out there. Just, after I talked about the Super Bowl last episode and how I was not exactly thrilled or excited for it, but I was thrilled, though, to see the numbers, at least for the rating for CBS, was lower than last year's Super Bowl when, as you pointed out last time, they were anticipating the highest number ever for a Super Bowl. and it actually came in under last year's numbers. So,
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Aha to the NFL.
And all right.
Yeah, but it was just more. The event just basically is a love letter from the NFL to the NFL, and then we all have to suffer through it, since everything is sponsored and promo. But anyway, moving on.
Thanks. Appreciate it. So now let's talk about our New York Islanders. So as of tonight, they are third in the Metropolitan Division, 3 points behind the Rangers. They have the Islanders have 62 points, and right behind them are Pittsburgh and New Jersey with 61 points apiece. Just mentioned, Pittsburgh has played the same number of games as the Islanders. New Jersey's played 3 more games, so a theoretical cushion there at least. But the division is pretty tight, and in fact, following the loss to Detroit on Saturday, that afternoon, just awful game.
Debacle.
Yeah, that afternoon Saturday game, they lost 5-1. And in fact, after that, those nights games concluded, the Islanders technically were out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't know if you noticed that. They dropped to 9th. I think it just goes to the bigger picture here, that it's a very tight race, and you lose a couple games and suddenly you're on the outside looking in. So it's almost like every game should feel like a playoff game already, and we're just barely into the second half. So I mean, a 5-1 loss at Detroit, their apparent afternoon Saturday awfulness performance streak continues. They just looked horrible in the whole game.
It is amazing, right? How the
goalie looked bad.
It was amazing.
Yeah, the goalie looked bad, and then but their overall play was bad. You can't just blame it on Mr. Halak. But I just watched that game. I'm like, what is this team that we're watching? It was mind-boggling to me. Maybe you have some specifics to share. I thought it was just awful.
It was. Well, the first period they actually didn't play badly. They actually had the early jump on Detroit, I thought. Halak, let up, the 2 goals. The first goal was a terrible Bailey turnover. I think you remember, our listeners remember that I was going off on Joshy a couple episodes ago and talking about how he loses puck battles and such. And that first goal, he was just so easily shoved off the puck. The Detroit defender could.
I think we lost the lip. The lip has disappeared. He was mid-sentence about Josh Bailey, and he's gone. So now it's a solo act. I could see his picture on the screen, but he is disappeared. So let's see if we could get him back in short order. I don't know what happened to Mr. Lip. This is unprecedented territory for us, as we have not yet encountered technical difficulties of this sort before. So he was talking about Josh Bailey and having an awful turnover there, and talking about Mr. Halak. I will share the hipster moment of Zenith as we try to get the lip back. Are you back?
Yep, I'm back. That was my fault.
Okay.
Time Warner Cable Internet. Thank you for that.
Good endorsement there. So I was just killing 30 seconds there. So let's just continue on. So you were talking about Josh Bailey, and very soft player, and as we've said before so many times, he sucked. Had the bad turnover.
Yeah, so you got all that. You got me talking about Bailey's terrible play on
just
that
continue,
first goal.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, from the second, again, Halak played played badly. He was yanked. And, for the second and third periods, I mean, they just basically mailed it in. It was a terrible performance by the Islanders on Saturday afternoon. And what I was also saying, I guess when my internet crapped out, was if any Islander fans stuck with the game after the second intermission, which had an extra 30 or 40 minutes tacked onto it because of Zamboni yanked the metal, the metal peg that, where the goal is, and, created a big crease in the ice, I guess, and they had to, delay the game an extra 30 or 40 minutes for that. If any Islander fans stayed with it for that, I give them credit, because it was tough to watch the remainder of that game at that point.
And I in fact did, and you know why? And this is leads into our hipster moment of Zenith. Yeah.
All right, perfect.
It was because as the delay was unfolding on the ice, and Howie and Butch were discussing, or they were contemplating what was happening. Finally, Shannon gave the report that there was the cut into the ice, and it was a big gash from where the creases all the way to the blue line. They actually contemplated the possibility of the game having to stop. And in a way, it almost made you get a little excited of the possibility that the Islanders would not have to go out there for the third period because they were so horrible. Now, I don't know to the extent that it was genuine hope, but it certainly came off that way. The way I think it was, I can't remember if it was Howie or Butch, but it was one of them, and maybe and I think the other was in agreement. And it just, to me, was like just such a Homer type of feeling of the game, and that they actually were hoping that the game would not have to go on. So there's your moment of zenith.
So
the Islanders getting blown out.
You think their hope was predicated on the fact that they would not have to, continue to watch or have to call that game anymore, that terrible game, or that maybe
they would avoid a loss,
or that they would have to postpone it. I mean, I have no idea what the NHL would have done there.
Right, and maybe that's part of what led to their excitement was, I mean, how do you take away the first two periods of play there? Or would you force the teams to just play a third period on a future date? Yeah.
So maybe we don't know like a baseball type of suspended game, where you pick it up from where you left off. I mean, luckily for them, they'd be starting at the beginning of a period.
So I just thought it was a interesting, and it kind of made me feel hopeful too, because it was just, you knew that the third period was just going to be awful to watch, because there's no way they're coming back. All right.
Yeah, I bet, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch the whole delay there. I had it on, but I wasn't really paying close attention. I was in and out. I bet Howie and Butch had some interesting interactions there while they were killing time, huh?
And that was one of them.
Obviously hoping for the game to be, potentially to be, postponed.
Yeah. All right, next. So 24 hours later, Super Bowl Sunday, the Islanders, they travel back home and face a not very good Edmonton Oilers team, and it's like Jekyll and Hyde, because the Islanders end up scoring more goals than any other team had in a single game in the whole season to that point. Not a single team had scored 8 goals in a game. And
interesting. I did not know that.
New York Islanders explode, and this is an afternoon game, albeit it's the Sunday instead of a Saturday. I don't know why that would matter, but just right off the bat, they scored. Johnny Boychuk got right back into the, good to see him getting on offense, and just, I mean, geez, just a complete 180, and it's like, are you watching the same team?
Yeah, and actually, well, the one thing I'll just throw in there before we get to the game itself was, I wonder how many Islander fans that either posted or tweeted, because I tweeted this, when the Islanders hit goal number 7, how many thought, on Super Bowl Sunday, 7 goals, touchdown Islanders, how clever of me. And I wonder how many Islander fans thought that they were the first one to think of that and post it or tweet it or say it to their friend or whatever. So just wanted to get that out there, because I did tweet it. I did tweet touchdown Islanders. But remember though, it's not just touchdown when they scored 7; it's touchdown and the extra point. I wonder how many Islander fans actually tweeted touchdown when they scored 6. That'd be interesting. But anyway,
it'd make them so cool to have done that. Yeah,
that would have been hipster if they tweeted touchdown at 6 as opposed to waiting until 7. That would have been H. But anyway, so get it to the game.
I don't know why you're so excited about that, but this is where
it just made me think of it. Because I was thinking that I tweeted this Super Bowl Sunday, the biggest football day of the year, if you will, and the Islanders score 7 goals, eventually 8, and I saw it posted and tweeted, and so one of my friends texted me touchdown Islanders, so. And I was just thinking, I wonder how many Islander fans thought they were the first, clever Islander fan to come up with that.
And just keep in mind, the Lip is learning, Twitter on the job, if you will, here, being, in his capacity as the Lip, because he has had 0 prior tweeting experience. So we're kind of, breaking him in, and the overexcitement about tweeting is present, and I'm glad. I want you to be more than excited about tweeting and learning it and getting hip in the Lip. Active and being an engaging force. So keep at it. I will I'll poke a little bit of fun, but at the same time I don't want to jeopardize the motivation. So keep doing the corny tweets. It's all good.
Hey, Sean, I was actually pretty impressed, though, just to touch on that very quickly, with my hashtagging, and I had a Twitter handle, Butchie's Twitter handle, acknowledging a point that he made. But I'm enjoying this, though. And anyway,
all
right. Next, anyway, to the game. So it would probably take the rest of the episode to get to every single goal the Islanders scored, since they scored 8 of them. But hey, it was a dominating performance from start to finish. The score probably wasn't even indicative of how much they dominated the Oilers, who just looked.
And it looks like we've lost the Lip again, as he was mid. So, what I will talk about, the Islander goalie situation here with Greiss and Halak. After the Edmonton game, Greiss had 14 wins to Halak's 12 on the season. Now, Halak missed some time, but Greiss had still played 6 fewer games than Halak. So clearly, Greiss, actually the second goalie, may be performing better than Halak on the season, albeit smaller sample size. And of course, we all know from last week, the Islanders have a third goalie on their roster, Mr. Berube. So we'll see how that shakes out. As the Lip has dropped off, let's see if we could squeeze him back on here. And he has returned.
Sorry about that.
I was talking about, interestingly, how after the Oiler game concluded, Greiss had 14 wins and Halak only had 12 on the season, despite Greiss appearing 6 fewer times than Halak. So you have more wins than Halak and 6 fewer appearances. Now, I don't know if it's a small sample size. I know Halak was injured, but just seemed interesting. And of course, to add to confuse matters, the Islanders have a third goalie on their team. So
yeah, that they do. So anyway, I don't know where I left off. I was actually rolling there, so I was very disappointed when my internet yet again crapped out. But so I was talking about and
how awful the Oilers are. You're awful.
How awful the Oilers
cut
are.
off. Yes.
Okay. So I was just saying how abysmal they were on Saturday afternoon. The Islanders jumped on them early, and like I said, I don't know if you heard this, but the score was not even indicative of how much they dominated the Oilers in that game. And I was just saying that Islander fans can probably draw a parallel to the Oilers in that the Oilers and Islanders have started their rebuild at roughly the same time, around the 2008-2009 season. And while the Islanders have had varying degrees of success, probably not much. but they're slowly progressing, if you will, in their rebuild, albeit slowly. But the Oilers, though, remain just a Mickey Mouse franchise, and they just remain a terrible hockey team. And you just saw that on display on Sunday afternoon as they were just a train wreck in their own zone. The Islanders were just all over them. The Oilers can barely generate any offense, mostly because they couldn't get the puck out of their zone. A couple soft goals by our old friend Anders Nilsson, the former Islander goalie, who is absolutely dreadful. It's comical to watch him play goalie. I mean, the guy is immense. He's 6'5" or whatever he is, and he plays like he's 5'9", like he's my height. And it looks like he has no idea how to play the position. He was eventually yanked. Oposo got a hat trick. Multiple, soft goals let in by, both him and Cam Talbot, the former Ranger, in that game. And for all the shiny first overall picks that the Oilers boast, including one of the, more exciting players in the game, Connor McDavid, who's going to be a superstar, they still stink. And the Islanders just took advantage of just how awful they were, and that's what resulted in the final score.
I think Nielsen's not even on the team anymore. I think he was demoted.
Well, they probably, after that hideous performance. He was absolutely dreadful.
All right.
And
so
I
want to just point out one more thing from this game. And then we're moving on. So there was some fighting in this game. And
scumbag Zach Kassian, who's also a former first-round pick and a complete scumbag.
Right. So your best friend Brian Straight jumped in to fight Kassian, and after the game, Matt Martin was quoted saying, "Strader's a hell of a guy in this room, and he stepped up for Hicks there. That shows you something." Now, is this alluding to the possibility that Brian Straight carries a locker room positive trait on this team, and maybe that is why the Islanders look the other way on his statistical performance on the ice because he otherwise sucks?
Well, look, you can never. Yeah, well, look, you can never play a guy just because he's liked in the locker room. Supposedly the Islanders keep Eric Bolton around because he is such a presence and demonstrates such leadership that they refuse to part ways with him. Although they can just make him an assistant, or they can keep him in the organization in some shape or form. But I will credit Mr. Straight because he did. Martin was right. He did jump in to defend the much smaller Thomas Hickey, as Zach Kassian, again, who was this complete scumbag, was just trying to start something there, and gave just basically targeted Hickey after the play was over, and Straight jumped in. So kudos to Brian Straight. I will give him credit. I have been harsh on him, but he definitely showed gumption there, and well done. But yeah, to answer your question, it does sound like he is well liked in the locker room, and he is somebody that's popular among his teammates.
I think we're reaching the point where there should be no listeners left because the lip just is losing his connection. So we move on to the Islanders at Columbus, which was last night. They eked out a shootout win, 3-2. And interestingly, this game featured 85 faceoffs. Now, for somebody with little to no context on faceoff totals.
I'm back.
All right, so now I'm talking about Columbus and how they eked out a shootout win, and starting with 85 faceoffs, and just saying that it's just to give context that there hasn't been that many faceoffs in any Islanders game since 2004. So, if you didn't tell, I wouldn't have picked up on it because I don't watch enough hockey. But so I know that there were some intentional icings. Icing is intentional, but it was like beyond deliberate intentional, and it was almost like a strategic thing that Tortorella's team was doing. John Tortorella being the coach of the Blue Jackets. Anyway, interesting game. I will say this: when you combine this game with the previous two games with Edmonton and Detroit, they played well in this game. The goalie for Columbus, Korpisalo, he looked incredible, like Dominic Hasek type saves in this game, I thought. And so and then you tack on the game where they lost to the Capitals. That's that's 3 out of 4 decent, at least decently played games, right? Detroit was horrible, but anyway, they eked out this win in Columbus, and like, hello,
Mr. Hip. Mr. Hip. Yep.
Yes.
Hopefully my internet. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. My internet.
I just said, what did you think about the game?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to make sure that before my internet crapped out for the third time, that everybody heard me say kudos to Brian Straight. That was heard. Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, just because, like I said, I've been very harsh on him. But actually, I will disagree.
We're going to save that now for a future soundboard. Whenever you complain about him in the future, we'll just play back kudos to Brian Straight. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Columbus, right, 3-2.
Well, I actually disagree. At least in the first period, the Islanders were awful. They got the first goal. It was actually a nice set play off the faceoff. Ryan Strome corralled a puck that was drawn back. Faceoff win by Tavares. Ripped it past the goalie. That Korpisalo, as you mentioned, he played a tremendous game, but was able to rip it past them in I think the first minute of the game.
Yeah, it was.
Yep. Other than that, I mean, that they were absolutely dreadful in the first period, and apparently, at least according to quote from John Tavares after the game, the coach, Mr. Jack Capuano, I guess laid into them a little bit and gave them what for, and they came out and played much stronger in the second period, and definitely got the better of the play for the remainder of the game, and outcoursied the Blue Jackets again. In the result for this one was 65-51, the 5-on-5 Corsi. But as you mentioned, yes, Tortorella in some teams will use this as a strategy. They will ice the puck, and as you mentioned, the zillion faceoffs. I guess you discovered, I didn't realize this stat, not that many in an Islanders game since 2004. I know Howie during the broadcast mentioned it after the second period that they were 60-something, and which I guess was like around like the league average typically for a game. Right. But yeah, I mean, there was no flow to the game. A zillion faceoffs, icings, puck stoppages, shots from the perimeter that the goalie would stop and then hold on to, offside. I mean, just a ton of puck stoppages, play stoppages, and yeah, no flow to the game. It was actually kind of boring for the most part. I mean, a few good chances for the Islanders. Lee got the tying goal in the third period on the power play. Nice feed from Oposo. And the overtime, I thought was scintillating. I mean, as boring as the game was for the first 60 minutes, the 5-minute overtime was scintillating. I mean, they were back and forth chances, for both teams, and great saves by both goalies. And I wish we had more of 3-on-3 overtime because it is absolutely fabulous. I mean, I was absolutely exhilarated watching that game, watching that overtime.
Now
I can imagine that you felt the same way.
I did, actually. I enjoyed the overtime. But
then the shootout stinks.
Right, but so is it always been this rule change when they started with the shootouts that once the game gets to overtime, you guaranteed a point? Yes?
Yeah, I mean they've had that. They've had the guaranteed point now if you get to overtime
since they started shootouts.
Yeah, even before then. I mean, you go back, I want to say at least 15 years now. It's something like that. It's been a while. It's been a while.
So for 15 years, they've had 3 numbers in the standings.
Yeah. The 3-point game, as you'll hear it called. And then you'll hear the phrasing, the dreaded 3-point game, if you're a team that's chasing another team or 2 teams that are in front of you and they play and then they have a 3-point game and you go, oh, the dreaded 3-point game. But yeah, it is kind of comical in Gary Bettman's NHL with the way the standings are, and you have so many 3-point games. The games that go to overtime, and the overtime losses are different from the regular losses, or at least the categorization of the losses. So. I mean, you'll hear NHL 500, regular 500, NHL 500. Howie kind of mocks it, and I love it when he does it. And like Butchie, doesn't respond like he has no idea that Howie is, mocking the system. But yeah, it's been this way for a while. It is kind of ridiculous.
Okay, so let's focus on the number 40 for a second.
All right.
John Tavares last night
Mm-hmm.
eclipsed 40 points, and he has now recorded 7 40-point seasons as an Islander. Who was the
That's
last
surprising.
Islander? Who was the last Islander to accomplish that?
I saw that you wanted to get to this, and I made it a point of not, looking up anything. I was thinking about it, and I mean, you think about how many forwards. It could be a defenseman too, but I don't think so. But you think about how many forwards have played 7 years for the Islanders over the last 20, 25 years, and it's not really many. At least that would be capable of putting up that amount of points in 7 straight years. So I'll just take a wild guess, and maybe I'm right, maybe not. But actually, this player was the answer, at least one of the answers to the trivia question in the Columbus game. But I'll guess that it was Pat LaFontaine. Do you know the answer? I'm guessing you do.
I do know the answer, and the response is, eh,
Oh, wow.
strike one.
Huh.
Let's try again. Let's test your depth of the New York Islanders.
He had to have had 7 straight seasons of 40 points, LaFontaine. So it had to be someone then after him. Wow,
Well,
7 years in a row.
I don't know if it's 7 consecutive years.
Ah. All right, well, that's different. I mean, so
Now,
you mean like the last...
I'll admit I wrote down consecutive, but as I posed it to you verbally, I did not say consecutive. That being said, now think about it for another 20 seconds.
That's my limit. So just 7 seasons of eclipsing 40 points.
For the Islanders.
40 Islanders. Wow. It is... I mean, Yashin, did Yashin play? How many years did Yashin play with them? I guess he played almost 7 seasons. I don't even know if he got the 7 seasons. I'll just say Alexei Yashin, even though I don't think that's the answer.
No.
Okay. All right, who was it? Should I be ashamed of not knowing it?
I don't know. He was born in 1967. He's Canadian. Let's see. We could
1967.
His first year with the Islanders was 86-87.
86-87.
Yep.
Who was playing for them? Oh wow, I feel like I should know this then. No question. It's not Flatley. It's not Patrick Flatley. It's not because he started before then. 86-87. Who was a rookie for them?
He hit his highest point total was 78. Scored 40 goals in 91-92 season. 38 assists.
Derek King?
Derek King is correct.
Wow. Derek King. All right.
And in fact, they are consecutive. Yes.
Wow. I would not. I guess I always thought of Derek King.
Wait,
89.
They're not.
Yeah.
You know what? They're not. No, they're not consecutive.
They weren't consecutive. All right.
No, he had 6 consecutive. Then 2 seasons. They weren't full seasons, and then his, I guess, last season.
Wow.
Anyway,
how about that?
Derek King.
Interesting. Cool. I very much remember Derek King. He played on the line with Pierre Turgeon and Steve Thomas for a couple seasons there, and that was one of the most prolific lines in the NHL for that time period. The early 90s, 91, 92, 92, 93. But yeah, brings me very nostalgic. And actually, I'll just since you brought back since you brought something back to my childhood there with Derek King, I'll just throw out very quickly. I know we want to move on here, but. But during one of the intermissions in the Edmonton game on Sunday, they actually aired an old episode of the Heels and Flat show. I don't know if you caught that. Patrick Flatley and Glenn Healy are 2 former Islanders, and they used to do like a little show that they would put on. They would air it during intermissions or in pre or post game shows. They would just be talking about like random stuff or whatever. They actually showed an episode, I guess, that they did in '91 where they were talking about how the CFL, the Canadian Football League, is better than the NFL, and just pointing out like different things. Obviously they would say it tongue in cheek, like, oh, the NFL has 4 downs. They need 4 downs to get 10 yards. We only get 3 downs, and so forth. But it was interesting, and it brought me. It was definitely brought a nostalgic feeling to me. So just wanted to throw that out there. And I'm sure other Islander fans that watch that go back that far probably enjoyed that as well.
Got a little hard on.
Well, let's just say I was watching
right now. Yeah.
Well, let's just say I was watching in the living room, and then I had to go into my bedroom for about
Of course.
3 minutes or so.
Like you do every 10 minutes. So, all right. So good. Look, they squeezed out the win. Cal Clutterbuck showed off his wrister to win it, which I thought was nice because you're talking about how he was a good shot and just blew it right past the goalie to get the shootout win. I think that was his second career shootout goal. He was 1 for 6 in his career, and I did not know that Franz Nielsen is the leader in shootout goals of all time.
Yeah, he has it's percentage. I think he's around 50%. He hasn't been as prolific as he was. He has 2 moves on the shootout. He has a backhand where he kind of fakes a forehand, goes backhand, and
that's what he did last night.
And then another one
I think
where
Butch,
he goes.
And then Butch called out. Yeah, Butch called out that move before he did it.
The forehand backhand. Yeah, that's his best one. I mean, he'll go 5-hole to confuse the goalie because obviously they have the book on him. But he'll score every now and again on the just shooting 5-hole. But the forehand backhand is his bread and butter, and he is one of his most valuable assets.
So I'll allow you. All right, cool. So I'll allow you 2 minutes for Marty Brodeur because last night he was. Was his jersey retired? I know they unveiled a statue for Marty Brodeur outside the Prudential Center. So I know you want to talk about Mr. Marty, so have at it.
Well, I mean, it was just something I felt we should just throw in there. Actually, before we get to that, just 2 quick points on the Columbus game. First, Jack, please stop playing 2 defensemen in overtime 3-on-3. Nobody else does it. You're not a genius for doing that. You're an idiot. So stop with that. And also, JT, in the shootouts, please don't go in at less than a mile an hour and then lose control of the puck.
I did notice that.
Please, thank you. All right, moving on. So,
okay.
But yeah, so Brodeur, look, what can you say? I mean, one of the greatest goalies in the history of the NHL. I mean, just anybody, whether an Islander fan, a Ranger fan, as much as they taunted him with Marty, Chance of Marty. I mean, just if you watched him, I mean, you just had to appreciate just how brilliant he was as a goaltender, just how steady he was, how consistent he was. How well he played in big games. Obviously, the 3 cups, the records, and very steady, especially
with the stick.
With the stick and the glove hand too. Very steady with the glove hand. And of course they had the venerable Doc Emmerich MC the event, and which I thought was very fitting. Perfect choice there. And actually now as I speak, we're watching highlights of Marty Brodeur on NBC Sports Network after the Rangers beat the Penguins this evening. But one of the great goalies of all time, much deserving of the ceremony that he got yesterday. It was funny though with the statue. I think the look he had on his face was similar to the look that Sylvester Stallone had in Rocky III when they unveiled the Rocky statue, and he's like, "What in the hell is that?" That type of look on his face. But and of course Gary Bettman was booed, which is par for the course. So I was booing along with all the Devil fans as well that booed the commissioner. And then of course Lou Lamoriello, who had just pulled off a 9-player trade as general manager of the Maple Leafs, still made the trip to Jersey to give a few words for Brodeur. So a wonderful ceremony.
What does whatever Illo have to do with Marty Brodeur?
Well, Lou Lamoriello is now the former GM of the Devils, and he was the GM of the Devils for I'm trying to think. I mean, he goes back to I want to say 88, 89. So we're talking 27 years, 26, 27 whatever it was, and he put together those 3 Devils Stanley Cup teams. One of the great executives in sports, and now Toronto's hoping that he can do for them what he did for the Devils, as the Maple Leafs themselves have not won. We are now going on 50 years without a Stanley Cup in Toronto. But he said a few words, as did Mr. Lamoriello, and wonderful ceremony, one of the greats of all time, arguably the best of all time. And I think the panel of 5 on NBC Sports is talking about them right now. So they're talking about
right now. We're going to talk about right now. Right now, we're going to talk about the next 3 games on the Islanders schedule. They They host the LA Kings tomorrow night. Then they travel to Carolina for I think is a day game on Saturday. And then another day game, President's Day. So the LA Kings are a solid team this year. No?
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I think I may be losing you again with my wonderful internet. But if it is an afternoon, and I didn't look at the schedule, but if they do have an afternoon game against Carolina, God help us all, I guess, right? No, wait, you still got me, Mr. Hip?
Exactly. And yep, we got you.
All right, just making sure. As I was saying, if it is an afternoon game, you said it.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, just checking, because we're going in and out here with my wonderful internet service.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you were asking about the Kings. Mr. Hip, hello, Mr. Hip.
Yes. All
right, I'm sorry, I lost you again. All right, go ahead.
All right, a new rule: stop apologizing when you come back in. It doesn't add any value. There's no reason to keep apologizing. Just continue. Right. It's as if continue the conversation from where you were before.
All right, noted. Well, I got you now, so continue.
All right, so the Kings are a good team. It looks like 32-17 with 3 overtime losses, 67 points. That puts them with looks like like the fifth most points in the league. So not like a number 1 team, but pretty good. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. So you mentioned before that the Islanders apparently set the high watermark for goals in a game this season with 8. Well, the Kings just surpassed that by scoring 9 of their own.
That's right.
In a absolute demolition of the Boston Bruins in Boston on the road, I might add, the other night. So they are they are playing extremely well. I mean, hey, look, this is a team that's won the Stanley Cup twice in the last few years. In the last 4 years, whatever it is. They've been one of the top teams in the NHL this year, hands down. Very talented team from top to bottom, very talented from goal. I mean, all-world goalie and Jonathan Quick, very, very good defense. Apparently, they just put Christian Ehrhoff on waivers, and some Islander fans would like Garth to at least explore picking him up if he's able to. So we'll see what happens there. Somebody that he once traded for at least his rights before he wasn't able to sign him. So it'll be a very tough matchup for the Islanders on Thursday at the Barclays Center, as the Kings are they are a big physical team. They'll grind you down. They do have some guys that that are very highly skilled. Anze Kopitar is one of their top players. Drew Doughty, one of the top defensemen in the league. So will not be an easy game for our Islanders on Thursday.
And Carolina, 57 points, divisional game. They're sitting in 6th place out of 8, so not the most formidable of opponents. And then they got to play Detroit again, who has taken care of business against the Islanders the last 2 games. So, not a walkover, but at all. So, couple of tough more games coming up, and a lot more. As the rest of the season unfolds here. So we'll on that note, and the Lip may not be able to or no, I think he's back now. Okay.
I'm here. No, I'm still here. Okay. Yep, I can hear. Yep.
All right. So any parting words?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. I mean, a lot of games. I mean, we're gonna, I guess if for us, so we get to watch a lot of Islanders hockey over the next couple of months. It just seems like every time you blink, they have another game, which is maybe not the best for them. But we got 3 more games before our
you live an exciting life. We're just out there doing a lot of things.
Watching DVR
Islander game at it too.
Watching DVR Islander games,
exactly.
Yes, taking notes. Oh, what happened on that play? Mr. Bailey again screwed up. All right, well, I guess good show. I think I have to go drink some more Budweiser now to celebrate an excellent podcast. and I'm gonna hopefully. And I'll one more thing I just want to point out. I just want to add. And just one more thing I just want to throw out there. Hopefully, our captain, John Tavares, will be able to have a makeout session with Papa John, as Peyton Manning did after the Super Bowl concluded on Sunday. So we hopefully can look forward to that at the end of June.
We didn't get that. You were too jumbled.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry. What about Tavares?
Well, I was just saying. So I just wanted to conclude with hopefully Islander fans can enjoy their captain, John Tavares, maybe making out with Papa John after they win the Stanley Cup, as Peyton Manning, gave Papa John a big kiss after the Super Bowl concluded on Sunday. So maybe we can look forward to Papa John coming out onto the ice and giving a big kiss to John Tavares after he gets the Stanley Cup from Gary Bettman.
Because that's why you put all your energy into rooting for this team for that very moment. So on that note, we will say, all right, bye. All right, bye.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.